All right. Well, thank you, Susan. That was wonderful. And we're going to move now on to Orion.
Hey, first, hey, Kat, love you.
Hi.
Hi, it's so good to hear your voice.
Yeah,
so, y'all, I was sitting here thinking about what to contribute, and honestly, the area I come from has some very specific kinds of different things that are just different than I've seen out there, so I thought I'd share that because it's interesting. One of the things is if someone is really longing for someone, there's something they call the tears of longing, and that is to collect their tears and to use their tears in mojos or, well, what they call spirit bags. Or with men also, believe it or not, using armpit hair from the left arm to take that hair and to sort of clip it and then turn it into kind of like a dust and put it into things. The other thing that we used back home a lot was corn silk. And corn silk to either wrap around things or to actually then or to take the corn shuck, the outer part, after you've taken the corn out, and to write petitions in the corn itself and then wrap it back up and pour honey over it. We did that a lot. Honey locust. That's another thing, believe it or not. We did that a whole lot about using honey locust blossoms. Y'all familiar with them? I don't know if you have them out your way or not.
Oh, yeah, we have them on our property right here.
You do? Yeah, that's a big thing, Kat, where I come from. In fact, it's pretty common to in about, what is this, April, about May, beginning of May, getting into the middle part, to collect them and to wash them in, like, salt water overnight, and then to fry them up in egg and flour and with a little bit like cayenne or, paprika or other things on them and eat them. That's considered a big love thing. The other thing is it's sort of like a honey pot, but where you take an apple and you cut it in half, and you put two people facing together in the two halves of the apple, and then you either pour honey over it or lay it in like brown sugar, or put it in a honey pot, and then set lights on top to start like firing it up, to start giving it power and energy. I'm thinking back there because there's a lot of guy things because I'm a guy and all, and I know, go figure. One of the things is to fix. Y'all probably figured that shit out, right? I'm so subtle, and to dress your mirror with your cum, with your semen around the edges, not so you have this big old splotch right in the middle of it. I mean, it's kind of gross, but and then you say to your partner, "Oh my God, you are so hot," and they're like, "Really? Come here, come over here to this mirror. Look in that mirror. Look at that guy." And you look at him in the mirror with them. Of course, they don't know. Now you've fixed them. Now you've fixed them.
Beautiful.
That is really cool, Orion.
Yeah, mirrors were a real big deal back home. And rivers. Hey, Kat, a cool thing. For years, I thought Ashanti people were the primary slaves imported into the area I was from, but I kept thinking that don't make no sense because we got so much river stuff. There's a lot of river stuff in our stuff, a lot of river stuff. And then I found out, no, it's Igbo. A lot of Igbo, so probably a lot of Oshun stuff, because I often wonder...
Well, but the Igbo, if I'm not mistaken, aren't the Igbo a displaced Congo tribe that happened to be in Nigeria? The Igbo actually are more of a Bantu tribe. Check it out, because there's been some, you can read some Anthro on it.
I will. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you sometime offline. The other thing back home was tomatoes. Tomatoes are considered, they call them the lover's apple. And, sharing the tomato, using tomato juices, juice to dress things, to dress a light, to dress... dress all kinds of things. Bloodroot, that was another, copper, It was a big deal back home. Copper, and what they call living honey, live honey, not honey that's got all the stuff taken out of it, but honey that's got all the stuff in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not filtered or pasteurized, just with the comb and the dead bees and all that. Yeah.
The other thing, apple juice. Believe it or not, apple juice was a big thing in Love Magic back. Well, apples, period. But the area I came from, yeah, we were, because I came out of the Shenandoah, as we'd say, the Shenandoah Valley, which is a big apple country area. And so apples were used a lot in your workings for, people in apple trees. That was a big deal, you know. I'm trying to look down here because I wrote down all kinds of things.
While you're looking, do you think, Orion, and well, let's just throw this out there, I found that real interesting about the tomato thing. And I'm wondering if, just like Kat, how you were taught, and I know Sicilian because that's how all along the south where we're from was Sicilian Italians, because that was the port of entry. I was raised around Sicilians. I wonder if that red sauce and tomatoes and all that kind of corresponds.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I do believe so. And I'm gonna mention a couple other things about tomatoes while we're at it. My grandmother, who was German Jewish, not my Sicilian grandmother, now my German Jewish grandmother, she was taught when she was a young child, this was back in the late 19th century, that tomatoes were poisonous. And she didn't
I heard that too.
Eat them.
Don't eat too many.
Don't eat too many. They're poisonous. So she would never serve her. My Sicilian grandmother, on the other hand, made them all the time. Later on, when I got to know more of the root workers in Oakland, I don't know. So you're all probably too young to remember that there didn't used to be such a thing as pantyhose. Pantyhose didn't exist.
Oh, I know that.
You had panties and you had hose, right? Two different things. Panties, hose. I remember the first day a lady said to me, I figured out a use for pantyhose. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you can, because pantyhose, there was all these sort of, at the time there was this fad for use leftover pantyhose to make pot scrubbers and all this sort of, make dolls out of pantyhose, right? It was a whole pantyhose was this sort of national resource that all of a sudden we were all doing. She goes, you can cook your tomatoes and rub your tomatoes and squeeze them through your pantyhose to make your tomato sauce.
Oh, my God.
And so what she did was to bleed on her pantyhose. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then use the pantyhose to strain her tomatoes.
Oh, Lordy.
All right. Now, Kat, are you ready for this?
For pantyhose.
Back home now, folks, because maters, as we call them back home, maters. Were, everyone loved their maters, but the guys would sometimes, all right, this is going to sound gross, y'all. They would rub just a little bit of sweat from their left armpit, just a little bit on the tomato, and then give it to a lover.
Yeah.
What's that?
They call them love apples.
Armpit. I want to know. I'm curious about
left
that.
armpit. Yep. And it's called a love apple. They called it a love apple.
That's right. That's what my German grandmother called them, love apples.
Yep,
the
love apples.
The left armpit, because the same reason you wear a wedding ring on your left ring finger is because it was believed by the ancient Romans that there was a vein that ran from your left hand directly to your heart.
And it goes up through there. Yep, that makes some sense.
That sure does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny, Susan, about that work you and I were doing? Back home, they always said if you wanted to put a division between yourself and someone else or two people, or you put a river between them.
Yeah.
You always put a river between them. Yep. And then we worked with, water coming at you, water going away from you.
Now, one of the things we have not mentioned is the honey jar, although you mentioned putting the dolls in sugar. So we ought to at least give a little tip of the hat to the honey jar.
Yeah, we just all cut to the chase on our big
Right. Well, but the honey jar is a good one, and there are many ways to do it. You don't have to make it with honey. You can make it with sugar or molasses. One of the old ones from Oakland, California, and it's funny because it's still popular there because I still have people tell me about it. When popsicle sticks were started to be available, people made up a version of it where you write the people's names on a popsicle stick, and you put rubber bands around that you get from where the newspapers used to be thrown, and there's rubber bands in the street, right? You know what I'm saying? You get the popsicle sticks, you get the rubber bands, and you put their names on the popsicle sticks. You rubber band them together with 3 of those little tiny rubber bands, and you put it into a jar of pancake syrup or molasses or log cabin syrup, whatever, Aunt Jemima syrup, whatever you got, or honey. And then you want to do it in such a way that it sticks up, and every day you turn it, like turning a key in a lock. And you just turn it and turn it and turn it. And that's a way to work an old Oakland honey jar. And then another one I was taught is different, because everyone knows the honey jar. You put the personal concerns, and then you put the herbs, and then you put them in the packet and all, put it in the honey jar. But I'll tell you another one that was shown to me. Use sugar cubes in a regular old sugar container, like you'd have your, for your coffee or tea. And at the bottom is the little name papers, and they're on little slips of paper, almost like Chinese fortune cookie size slips of paper. And you put those at the bottom, and you can tape them down in the bottom of your sugar container. As long as they don't reach all the way down to the bottom, they won't find them. But the sugar is there, and then you invite them over for tea, you see, or coffee, 1 lump or 2. And it comes out of the sugar container that had their name in it. Yeah.
I love that sugar cube idea. I just thought about, what if you took the sugar cubes and you put the personal concerns on each sugar cube, and you put like their initials on it, and you bound those all up in a nice little packet? Wouldn't that be too cute? I love working with sugar.
Hey, Cindy.
Hey, Cindy, why don't you talk about your workshop that you're going to do in New Orleans? That fits in right there.
I do this thing where I like to work with putting sugar in your panties, as I call it, and it's jar work. And I use your panties, and I put them around the jar, and then we put everything in, all different things inside the jar. And the cool thing about this, because it's a dry jar spell, I've worked before with someone for a long time, and we were trying to, what we like to do is, she was trying to find the right guy, right? And so she was dating guys, and so we would put the guy in her panties for a while and check him out, work that one, and then we didn't work, we'd take that guy out and we'd put another guy in there. And so, sweeten your panties.
Panty divination.
I love working with. It's fun, and I like making them. They're pretty jars because you can, of course. I don't want no tacky ass panties. I want pretty panties. And it's true.
Oh my God, I'm falling off the balcony.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun doing that, and I'm not kidding you. We have had some results doing that. So in New Orleans, I'm going to be teaching sugar in your panties and spicing up your britches. So boy,
Cindy, you might like it that another thing back home that was a big deal. And if a woman was making you, and you were a guy, right? An apple pie. If you were a spirit worker, you knew what was going on. That meant she wants your shit, right? And because she would usually put menstrual blood in an apple pie, but extra cinnamon. It would be a much apple pie. But remember, apples where I came from was a real big thing.
Star loves apples and love work, don't you, Star?
Oh yeah, I use apples a lot. Yeah.
Hey, Star, that's where I came from. It used to be the apple capital of the entire country. Shenandoah Valley, we got the Apple Blossom Festival, and apples were absolutely like a big deal.
Well, why do you think apples? Adam and Eve apples?
I don't know.
I think because they're sweet.
Y'all know if you cut them across, you can see a five-fold star in them, too.
That's true. A five-fold star on the apple. Hey, Star, when you make the apple-headed doll baby, are those used primarily in love, or is that kind of a general doll baby?
The apple-head dolls are used for love.
It is, okay.
Yeah, it's used in love work.
I think the apple thing's a whole Adam and Eve thing. I really do, because it's like the first fruit ever in the world mentioned, don't you?
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, it's forbidden.
And as Nagashiva pointed out in the chat room just now, apples and roses are in the love family. In other words, apples are a type of rose ultimately, and roses are for love. Apples are for love. So is the harsh blackberry. But so is also the raspberry, which is used for faithful female love and also for fertility and childbirth. And everything in the rose family is non-toxic. There are no toxic members. There are some that are spiny, but there are none that are toxic. And so I think one reason we all love apples, and also they are red, the prototypical apple is red, and we also use red onions for luck and red for love. And so there's a lot of things about...
and rhubarb. Don't forget rhubarb, y'all.
Yeah, rhubarb is good. A little on the sour side, but strawberry is another one.
Add that
in that same rose family.
Gooseberry.
Yeah.
We use gooseberry.
I make a bluebarb pie. Will set you free.
Yeah.
And
Carolina Dean just posted something in the chat room too. Rose is an anagram for eros, meaning love, which is good. Very good to remember. I also want to mention cherries because again, that's another fruit in the same family. And now my German Jewish family, we ate a lot of cherries because that's a very, very popular fruit in Europe, and especially in Germany and Hungary and all in those areas, Bavaria. They eat a lot of cherries, Austria. And if you've ever grown cherries, or maybe if you buy them by the pound, you'll see sometimes there'll be what's called a double cherry. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where two cherries have grown together.
I
don't mean two stems that have grown together, but two cherries that are like Siamese twins. Well, sometimes one will be big and one will be small, and that's like a deformed Siamese twins. You want them when they are both, you want them when they're both the same. And what I was taught to do by my mother, if that happens, you take the two cherries, you have your friend with you, and you could do this. Little girls will do this together after school, and let's be best friends for life. But you can also do it with your lover, and I'm sure little boys do it too. You have to have a thumbnail, and you pop them apart, and you each take one half of this double cherry, and then you link your right arms through, and you put your own cherry back to your mouth, right? And you eat it at the same time. And you say, heart cherries. Only say it in German. But heart cherries. Because those cherries look kind of like a heart with the way they're grown together. Or you can eat cherries, and you say friends for life or lovers for life.
Yes.
Now, Kat, back home we used, those little wild daisies? I don't know if y'all have them where you are. They were like... They had little white petals and like a sort of yellow blossom. They're wild. Those or buttercup blossoms, but usually like the white daisies. We would take the little petals of those and also put them under the mattress when we're going to make out with somebody we really want to get up into their heart. But these little daisies where I grew up. Yeah.
Well, there's another one I was going to mention because we mentioned dolls. A lot of people make dolls out of any kind of thing, and they'll make a wax doll, form it out of wax, or even out of clay or Sculpey, or form them out of rice or bread dough and bake them. There's many ways to make dolls, but of course the kind of archetypal doll is the cloth doll. The best doll for love doll is made out of your lover's clothing, and then
that's a fact.
Because you want that, and especially if it's their underwears or something like that, you can make a doll out of their underwear, especially out of the crotch of their underwears, which is usually double thick. See what I mean? So you got the front and back of it all right there.
I wonder where my crotch went.
Yeah, right.
You don't wear
underwear. Especially if it was worn and not washed after being worn, you can kind of see where this is going, And you make those little doll babies out of that. Now, it's one thing to have a doll baby and to work with it, rub it on your bosom, rub it on your pussy, whatever you're going to rub it, and say, come to me and be mine, and you can wrap it up in your underpanties afterwards and say, you're not going to look at anyone but me. But there's another thing you can do with it. You make a similar doll baby on yourself. Now, these doll babies have to be baptized, and that's probably another thing you'll have a whole other show on, is how to work with dolls. So we're just going to assume you know how to make a doll and really baptize it and really work with it. But if you make 2 dolls, one out of your clothing.
Hey, Kat, baptizing was a big deal back home, too. I just want to mention that.
Yeah.
Baptizing in living water in a river.
Right.
Or creek.
So once you baptize the doll babies and stuff, but if you make them both out of cloth and you make those little flat style doll babies, now if you have any skills, you can whip stitch them together.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or if you're even better,
Uh-huh.
what I want you to do is the blanket stitch, because it works better. And you make that little blanket stitch, and you just blanket stitch them around. Or if you're really good, you can make the blanket stitch with a crocheted rippled edge. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And so you just make that little crocheted edge, and you go all around those doll babies, and now they are both stitched together all around the edge for life.
Man, that's some serious fun in there.
Yeah, that's good work.
That's good work.
Hey, Kat, you'll love this, too. I remember, and actually it was a gal, I was going to prom, and bless her heart, this girl, she wanted my stuff so bad. She didn't know I was gay as a goose. I guess a gay goose is a flamingo, I don't know.
Oh,
she served me sugar cookies with her menstrual blood in it. Sugar cookies is a big deal back home.
Yeah.
But it didn't work too good for her, but I tell you what, I got my sugar cookie Aubrey. But thought I mentioned sugar cookies.
That takes us